On Monday, Andy from Cap Space Wins Cups joined us for a conversation about the Vancouver Canucks. We discussed the loss of Bo Horvat for the rest of the regular season.
I've been pretty consistent in our we don't care like what the chances are. We are there to watch the games, and regardless, we're still hoping for a win because we want to watch entertaining hockey.
Until they put that line through and gray the name on the graphic, there's still that to be watching, as foolish as that may sound.
As we add, look at this. From Cap Space Wins Cup, joining us live. Hello, Andy.
Hello. How is everybody?
Good.
Everybody's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
Andy, I just have one question. Don't you know that it's not the cap space that wins cups? It's the long-term IR that wins cups.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna rename LTIR circumvention gets you a ring.
Yeah, it's something that Sean just really loves a lot. It's that LTIR cap circumvention thing. It's his favorite thing ever.
Well, let's start there then. Why didn't Calgary use some more IR and load up a bit more?
Oh, that'd probably be the owners.
Load up on what though?
Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering if they even had injuries they could have. I mean, Tampa Bay, Vegas, all these other teams seem to find some guy who's got like a sore baby pinky toe and is out for 2 months. So
You're not cynical at all about this.
No. I actually think that there's nothing wrong with the system. Like if you want to, like Vegas, perfect example. If you want to go without Mark Stone for 3 months, go ahead. I mean, they're at probably 50-50 at best now to make the playoffs. They had to bring him back early. So, I mean, it's the risky play, right? If you want to do that and it works out, great. Or you could just as easily end up as Vegas and, look
Have
like
a blow up in your face.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't actually have a problem with it.
My biggest issue, actually, there's 2 issues that I have with it. It's when you're trading players who are injured that you're going to be using to either if you're Arizona, pad the cap so that you're not actually spending to the cap floor, or you're doing what Tampa did in last season and trading for players to load up so you could get as much LTIR space before the season even starts to get that. Those are my 2 ones. The one that Vegas did, once I actually understood it, I didn't understand it because it is a convoluted rule and process and everything to create all that. Once I did understand it, it's not nearly as bad as what Tampa did last season in turn for me. But I think one thing I want to see them they need to get rid of is that just being able to trade injured players just to pad the cap so that teams like Arizona aren't actually icing competitive teams.
I the one part I would say is I know there was a lot of people talking about the Alec Martinez injury as an example that it was really serious, and I'm always I want to be careful of assuming that everything has been I do think that there's nonsense. I do think that, but I also think that there is some legitimate injuries. But I'm more to me, trading the Anaheim Ducks, trading the Vegas acquiring legend Ryan Kessler for cap space. To me, that to me is that I don't like because Kessler hasn't played since when? When has Kessler played last? 2018?
Yeah, at least 3 years ago.
Yeah, that just to me, that's that part. I agree. I think that needs to get out of the game.
Or what happened with Pronger's contract right before he officially retired.
Yeah,
how about Datsuk? Let's name all the Arizona Coyote greats.
Yeah, they have enough of those greats that they could fill that 5,000 seat arena quite quickly. And next year they're probably going to be doing the same damn thing, because they're stripping it down for they're going hard for Connor Bedard. That is.
Well, that's the whole point of the cap floor is to try and avoid that. And if you're allowing teams to stash players on injured reserve versus long-term injured reserve, or even going into the whole cap recapture and how players can not retire and stay on LTIR versus retire, depending on what works best for a certain team, I think is something that needs to be looked at.
I'm kind of of two minds. Like, if you look at the system, there's, a max of, 90 million times 32 teams in the system, right? That's the max sort of amount of money that can be spent a year, right? So, to me, if, let's say, Tampa, if they want to send, whoever player who's injured to Arizona, because Arizona can pay them $800,000 in cash and get a $10 million cap hit, well, then, in theory, Tampa would have 10 more million of cap space to go buy another player, right? I don't mind that, but the problem that I have is, I agree, is when you see a Kessler or a Chris Pronger, like Chris Pronger was working for the NHL when he got traded. Like, to me, that if it's so obvious you're not going to ever play again, I don't think you can be traded. You know what I mean? Like, Ryan Kessler said hundreds of times he's never playing again. He can barely skate. So why is another team acquiring that player, right? Obviously, it's not because they think he can help them win games.
Yeah. That's the thing. So we were discussing how important this game is how must win is this for you tonight? Is this Canucks Stars game? Is this a must win, or are you on the belief of the playoff train? Or
yeah, I mean, like I've been kind of saying for a month now that playoffs are probably over. I mean, playing Dallas, if this is the team, them or LA, you're going to have to catch if you want to get in, right? So I don't think it's a must win. I think it's a must win in regulation. Like, it's great if you get 2 points, but if their team gets one, you only gained 1 point, right? Like, it's the problem with this system, and is why the Canucks win versus Vegas last week in overtime stung so bad, is because, you were 54 seconds away or whatever from getting 2 points on Vegas and making a legitimate race. And instead you only get one and, kind of get ground, but not really. So I guess to answer your question, they have to win in regulation.
Yeah. Devin, who Pal must win. Of course, hello, Devin.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. The big news, of course, the big thing is, do we want to start with the good news or the bad news? Maybe let's start with the bad news. I think there's some meat on this bone. Bo Horvat is out. I mean, it was pretty obvious when we saw the injury. I don't think we need to know that. Where I think anyone that knows the body even a little bit knows that the ankle is part of the lower body. But how significant of a loss is this? We'll start with Andy. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? He's been, I think he's got 32 goals now. He's been getting big goals too. We have a conversation on our podcast all the time about a player like Connor Garland, and it's like, okay, he has 14 goals, and my argument is that's great, but if you go 20 games between goals in the most important part of your season, are you really helping your team, right? Like, before Garland scored the other day against San Jose, I think he got the 7th goal in a 7-1 win versus Arizona or something, right? That to me is not an important goal. Whereas Horvat has been scoring big goals, go-ahead winners, game winners, tie games. He scored a minute and a half in versus Vegas the other night. Like, he's been playing really well. He takes all the face-offs on the team. I think it's a massive loss. I mean, outside of losing probably Demko, it's probably the second biggest loss they could have had right now, to be honest.
Yeah, because of all those scenarios, in particular defensive zone face-offs and his role on the power play. Yeah, it's a huge hole. I mean, the guys are up against it. They know how badly they need to win these games, and I guess now it's a bit of a blessing in disguise to see what the Canucks can do when facing this sort of adversity, missing their captain and a guy that plays in so many situations.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like he's going to be out for quite a while at this point, just because a media friend of mine said that he saw him in a boot and one of those scooters. So I don't think he's going to be playing anytime soon. But yeah, the impact of that loss is definitely huge.
It is. He's between him and Miller, they're the engines that run this team, and they're the emotional heartbeat too. And Bo may not show it as outwardly as Miller does, but you can tell how charged up he is and how charged up the team is when he scores a goal early or scores an important goal. You can see that emotion in there, and yeah, it's tough. And as soon as that puck hit his ankle, I was just like, oh no. I was really hoping for maybe just a stinger, but it's definitely more than that. And it's too bad because he was having such a great streak there of playing it at the top of his game and producing at a rate that was comparable to the best in the league.
Yeah, I think I saw a tweet where it said that only Matthews had been outscoring him in the past month or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are we I want to maybe toss this out there. I know that there's been other names. I mean, we've tossed Lindholm for Selke out there.
What do you think? How much did the loss of Bo Horvat impact the Vancouver Canucks? Let us know. Follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network.